Okay, let's get a different perspective on hydropower, because the potential in South Africa is challenged by a low average rainfall, as we heard Claire speaking about earlier, of 500 millimeters seasonal river, and frequent droughts or floods as well. And joining us for more now is Alvain Smith. He's the CEO of the Southern Africa Alternative Energy Association. Alvain, thanks so much for joining us today. Let's unpack this a little bit further. What we've been talking about, the kind of opportunity that hydropower does create from an energy perspective, and the challenges we're faced with in terms of getting it to reach its full potential.
I think we should just have a look at some of the history where it makes up the whole thing, how it fits together. South Africa's always had cheap electricity from coal. Therefore, a lot of these technologies, such as hydropower, never got its fair share, because nobody bothered about looking at other technology. It was cheap, it was easy, it was nice. And then came 2008, and the soft brown stuff hit the fan, and something had to be done, and the IRP was, the Integrated Resource Plan was formulated, which looks at South Africa's energy from 2010 up until 2030. And only because of that, or not only because of that, but that is where hydropower and all the other technologies got a little bit of a kickstart.
Got a kickstart, but we're looking at using a resource that is scarce and becoming even more so as we move forward. So just what kind of a challenge does that pose to the sustainability of hydropower being used as an energy alternative?
We see it as a major problem. The water resources that we do have, and our government and all the agencies involved having to have a serious look at what water is available, and trying to plan forward for that water to be used. There's a lot of other technologies that is competing with hydropower. Your solar is coming cheaper by the day. So again, that's going to affect solar or hydro generation in the future. We don't see a big demand, or we don't see a big market for hydro electricity in South Africa and in certain other parts. As was mentioned before, countries up north have better resources than what we have. Mozambique, yes, has been proven with the Cahora project. We're getting a lot of power from there. But yeah, locally, small developments, yes, but nothing big. And the big stuff is the storage facilities where they pump water up and at night used again to create electricity.
What's your response to commentary out there where there's criticism leveraged towards hydropower being used as an alternative energy source, where the comments have been that governments are too focused on economic growth rather than basic human needs, because it's a very fine balancing act that needs to be played here?
We believe that hydro can play its part in generating power at the source where it's required for rural areas, doesn't have to be transported over thousands of kilometers. So yes, hydro, especially run of the river, hydro have got the ability to satisfy those needs that you are talking about right now.
Especially if we look at economic growth coming in, and deficits like of 342 billion rand needed to be filled in order to cater to our water needs moving forward. Let's take a look at the potential you see for this market as we move forward. Are there lessons that we need to start learning from other African countries, the likes of East African territory specifically, where 65 to 80% of their electricity is generated via hydropower?
They have the resources, more so than we have, and they also didn't have that cheap electricity that we've had up until recently, and still to a certain extent. We're still one of the cheapest countries in the world when it comes to generating electricity from coal. So yes, that is the challenge that hydro has to live up to. The perception that hydro generation uses water is wrong. It simply uses the energy of that water flowing, and not the water as such. Your coal power stations and some of your CSP stations uses water. Hydro does not use water.